James J. Mallow is a foreign and defense analyst, West Asia analyst as well. He's now joining us from London. James, good to see you, and thank you very much for joining us at this hour. How far do you think this whole chat drama or chat scenario is going to go? Because Europe is now being roped in.
Hello, Eric. Well, firstly, let me just say that I wish I was the journalist who was accidentally added to that group chat and would have had the difficult decision, I'm sure, like Jeffrey Goldberg, as to whether to go public with it and release it, or whether to think like Jeffrey Goldberg did of The Atlantic, the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic magazine in the United States, or whether to think perhaps it was a hoax, but actually 2 days later, because he got added, I think it was March 16th, and then the actual planes took off to hit Houthi targets in Yemen on March the 18th. So, of course, he realized it was for truth. And, of course, it was a huge mistake on the part of the United States and quite embarrassing. In terms of how this affects Europe and Britain, and indeed some of the remarks that have been seen now on those screenshots, well, I can tell you that this particular incident came up in Prime Minister's Question Time earlier today at the House of Commons in Westminster, where the third largest party, led by Ed Davey, that's the Liberal Democrat Party, and he doesn't particularly like this administration at all in the United States. He doesn't like President Trump. He's open about this, but he can be open because he's the third party and he's not part of the government. And he asked the question, is it right now that Britain should share defense important intelligence with United States? Of course, he was just trying to push the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer. And Sir Keir Starmer responded. He actually fumbled a little bit, and he was a little bit wobbled on his feet. But then he said, I don't think this particular statement is neither responsible or serious, and we work with the United States on a daily basis. And he moved on very, very quickly. Look, in terms of defense mechanisms, when Donald Trump first came to power in 2016 and 2020, to 2020, he highlighted a lot of issues. And one of those issues was that NATO was clearly a defense mechanism to prevent Russia from perhaps attacking. Now, the United States is nowhere near Europe, of course, although their borders are just a few miles apart if you go right up to the North Pole. But the United States has rightly outlined that some European countries are not paying their fair share. And I think it's right for the United States to do that, and hence that's why we saw some of these messages. Now, President Trump makes it very clear, Poland has stepped up to the plate, very much so. So has Britain. There are other countries who have not, namely Spain, Portugal, Italy, and other smaller countries in the EU that have not paid their way. And it's right that President Trump says, after 70 years, it's wrong for the United States to keep picking up the bill. And we should not be paying for you. You should be looking after yourselves, unless you're going to contribute your GDP as other countries are doing. Okay. Now, just today, the Chancellor in the United Kingdom announced that Britain's GDP is going to go up to 2.5%. Poland are heading towards much more than that. Latvia is looking to 5%. And now the European countries suddenly realize, well, their defense is perhaps under scrutiny right now, and they need to raise more money to defend their own borders.
Mr. Mallow, just very quickly, now we're talking about responsibilities or taking responsibilities. There are several officials who have said that there was nothing classified that was discussed during the chat, in that chat group. If Donald Trump is to take responsibility, how should he do it? How should he, pacify the situation as it is? Very quickly.
I think President Trump is going to hope that another major story is going to take place in the next couple of days, and therefore, like most stories, this suddenly gets wiped under the carpet. It's up to the American media if they decide to focus on this, and the Democrat Party are obviously realize that they've got some ammunition now against this particular administration. Is President Trump going to fire one of his, or perhaps the defense minister or somebody else in those 18 people chat group that I was not part of, but Jeffrey Goldberg was? We'll have to wait and see. I have a feeling he probably will not, but he'll put them on warning. And if something else happens in the foreseeable future, he may therefore replace that particular person. But I've got a feeling nothing is going to change at this point.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Mr. James Marlow, good to see you. Thank you very much for your insights today. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.